Have you ever noticed that some of the most intelligent, deeply aware people you know are also the most completely exhausted? They aren't tired from working a 12-hour shift or running a marathon. They're exhausted because they've been trapped inside their own heads all day. They are replaying a conversation that ended at lunch, mapping out worst-case scenarios for a meeting next Tuesday, and staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. because their brain refuses to stop asking, "What if?" If that sounds familiar, you aren't broken. Your brain is just caught in a psychological paradox. The exact same trait that makes you thoughtful and empathetic is the one that's quietly draining your battery. Let's talk about what's actually happening in there and how to finally turn the volume down. The illusion of progress. Psychologists have a specific term for this. They call it maladaptive rumination. It's a fancy way of saying your mind is running in circles, chasing its own tail around past events or future uncertainties. But here's the twist. Your brain isn't doing this because it's weak. Studies show that overthinkers usually have exceptional pattern recognition. Your brain is highly intelligent. It's always scanning, always processing, always looking for meaning. The problem isn't your intelligence, it's that your internal system never gets the signal that it's safe to stop. Inside your brain, a region called the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for planning and self-reflection, is constantly running on overdrive. Even when you're just sitting on the couch trying to relax, your background processing system is busy drafting responses to arguments that haven't even happened yet. And because your brain releases a tiny hit of dopamine whenever it thinks it's solving a problem, you get addicted to the loop. Your mind feels like it's making progress, but you're actually just stuck on a mental hamster wheel. Where did this come from? To understand why your brain does this, we have to look backward. This habit rarely starts in adulthood. For most overthinkers, this was a survival strategy developed when you were younger. Think about it. If you grew up in an environment where things felt unpredictable, maybe a parent's mood could shift without warning, or maybe making a minor mistake carried massive consequences. Your young nervous system learned a very logical rule. If I can predict everything, I can protect myself. Anticipate the mood. Analyze the tone of voice. Plan the next move before anyone else moves. Overthinking isn't a design flaw. It's an adaptation. It's a highly sophisticated, incredibly smart nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do to keep you safe. But while that strategy worked wonders for protecting you back then, it's completely burning you out today. The two types of thinking and the trap. Now, it's important to realize that not all deep thinking is bad. Psychologists split this into two distinct categories, and understanding the difference changes everything. The first is reflective rumination. This is when you look inward to honestly understand yourself, process your emotions, and grow. It's where your empathy comes from. In fact, research shows that chronic overthinkers score incredibly high in cognitive empathy. You can read a room instantly, you notice the unspoken shift in a friend's energy, and you genuinely care about how your words land. The second type is brooding rumination. This is the dark side. It's a passive, exhausting loop where you dwell on a problem without ever moving toward a solution. It's looking at a mistake you made years ago and just beating yourself up for it over and over with zero actionable output. The trap is that these two feel identical while they're happening. A healthy moment of self-reflection can slide into a toxic, brooding spiral so quietly that you don't even notice you've crossed the line. You think you're analyzing your life, but you're actually just paralyzing your progress. The cost: procrastination and burnout. What does this look like in daily life? It looks like watching your potential slip through your fingers because you're too busy analyzing the perfect way to start. You want to start a new project, apply for a new job, or even just send an important text. But then the questions start. What if it fails? What if they misunderstand me? What if I'm not ready? Suddenly, a simple task feels like climbing Mount Everest. You get hit with decision paralysis. Because action feels risky, your brain decides that the safest thing to do is nothing. So you procrastinate. Then you feel guilty for procrastinating, which gives your brain more fuel to overthink, leading straight into severe mental burnout. You are exhausted at the end of the day without having checked a single thing off your to-do list. How to break the loop. So, how do we fix this? If you tell an overthinker to just stop thinking, It's like telling a professional athlete to just stop moving. It doesn't work that way. Your brain has spent years building these neural pathways. Instead of trying to stop the thoughts, therapists use a concept from acceptance and commitment therapy called cognitive diffusion. It means changing your relationship to your thoughts by creating a little bit of space between you and your mind. Right now, when a stressful thought pops up, you fuse with it. You think, everything is going wrong and I need to fix it right now. To break the loop, you need to step back and become an observer. When the spiral starts, literally say to yourself, my brain is generating a worst-case scenario right now. Notice the difference? The first statement drags you into the storm. The second statement puts you by the window watching the rain. You aren't denying the thought exists. You're just acknowledging that just because your brain thought it doesn't mean it's reality. The power of action. The next step is the antidote to analysis paralysis: imperfect action. Your mind will always tell you that you need more information before you act. It's lying to you. Clarity doesn't come from thinking. Clarity only comes from engagement. If you're stuck in a loop about a project, a conversation, or a life choice, lower the bar to the floor. Give yourself permission to do it poorly. Write a terrible first draft. Send a simple, unoveranalyzed text. Take a 5-minute walk instead of planning a perfect 1-hour workout routine. You have to show your nervous system that you can take action, experience an imperfect result, and survive. Every time you act without over-planning, you train your brain to realize that the world doesn't end if things aren't perfectly calculated. At the end of the day, overthinking is not a personality defect. It isn't a sign that you are weak, unstable, or incapable of handling life. It is simply the mark of a highly active, incredibly perceptive mind that learned to stay on high alert in a world that once felt uncertain. Your mind was just trying to protect you. But you don't have to live in survival mode anymore. You are safe enough now to put down the armor and rest. Let's start breaking the habit together tonight. The next time your brain tries to drag you into a midnight replay of your worst moments, take a deep breath, recognize the loop for what it is, and choose one tiny physical action in the real world instead. If this resonated with you, drop a comment below sharing the one thing your brain loves to overanalyze the most. Let's talk about it, realize we're all doing the exact same thing, and step out of our heads together. See you in the next video.